I like this one because you can draw straight on the screen. But I also like this one because you can also draw straight on the screen. But which one does the raptor think is better? This is the basic setup that I use on a day-to-day basis. So I'm just going to work through a job today on both machines just to kind of note down any notable side-by-side comparisons. So I'm using Adobe Illustrator, and that's probably where my review will also be a bit different, is because a lot of reviews already out there are on Photoshop and bitmap programs. I'm going to vector this sketch that I've done earlier. So I really like the pressure sensitivity on this machine. The ink is really well calibrated and the parallax is unnoticeable. Now obviously I've been using this setup for a long time, so there might be some stuff that I'm doing that isn't obvious, so feel free to ask questions and I'll be happy to answer them. Now I've also set up the shortcuts on this with Wacom. You get a desktop center that comes with it as a piece of software. Now on this is really quite detailed. You can go into as much detail as you like here in terms of tutorials and whatnot. And then you've got your calibration, pen settings, and you can actually customize these to be different on different things. So I'll go into my pen settings and I'll quickly change this. Now I can change to keystroke, which is the strongest tool on this modifier. I mean, you've got all these basic ones anyway, but the keystroke is great because you can obviously learn the shortcut to the program you work in, so it can be anything, and there's no limit to that as far as I'm aware. Prior to this, I was using the Wacom 12WX, and by the time you've got all of your panels at the side, you're running out of screen estate to work on, which was a bit of a nightmare if I'm honest. It's really nice to work on. However, it does have its quirk. Occasionally, you'll find that the pen stops responding, so what I have to do is just tap it with the back and it kind of comes back. Occasionally it locks up, it'll only do straight lines. Again, I have to there's been the odd time I've just had to reset the entire machine. So it's not without its faults. I come to the studio every day and I'm in the market for kitting out the rest of the desks in here. But at £2,000 a pop, they kind of price themselves out a little bit. Now, when I teach students, some of them carry the tablets with them, which is great for just working at university and things. Because Cintiqs are just too expensive, for me it's a no-brainer. If I was a student, I would definitely opt for this YIYNOVA machine. It's great. I'm going to hop back over to that now so you can kind of see the difference. So I'm picking up again on the exact same job using the YIYNOVA. This is the basic model, as far as I'm aware. The screen size is really nice still. Now the shortcuts are primarily the same. I'm just using the laptop as the keyboard. And this just acts as a second screen, so I can drag things across both screens like I would with the Cintiq. Looking again at the fluidity, the sensitivity, pretty much the same. Again, I work with vector, so the resolution to me doesn't matter as much. On the written review, I will link to some more reviews from people who use bitmap programs, but you'll find that they're of quite a similar opinion in terms of the side-by-side comparison isn't as big as you'd think for the price difference. The only thing that I've come to find that has been a slight issue, I wouldn't even say issue, but when you go to the tablet settings to customize your shortcuts, there's a limitation on that. So you've got the same kind of setup as the Cintiq. The pen, for example, I would like the index finger button, the bottom one, to go straight to the brush for the line work. So with that, I think that's button 1. There's only limited things here. So you've got left click, left double click, right click. I can't customise that to B for brush, or shift B for the shape brush tool. Same with the top button. So there is that. The express keys on the side, these can be customised in more detail, but no option to type your own shortcut in. The other option is just to set the shortcut yourself and just do it on your keyboard. You can see it's not had Johnny Ives design this, but again, it just does the job. The actual parallax is exactly the same as the Cintiq for me. The ink comes down exactly where you'd expect. The surface space is more than ample and there's no lag. The other thing I would say is this is a slightly glassier screen. The Cintiq has more of a matte finish to it, which is nice. It's got a little bit more grip. The setup is minimal. The amount of wires is minimal. This is the stand, and it's just a bit plasticky, but fairly robust. Unless you're going to jump on it, I can't see that it would be an issue. It's even got a nice little pen holder at the back, so you can keep everything together. It literally came with everything in the box, including a glove. So they've really thought this through. They've really studied the other machines, the rival machines. To be fair, I've actually really enjoyed using it. So I'm selecting my brush here, and the sensitivity is quite nice, but it randomly decides it's going to go huge every now and again. There's absolutely no excuse for this technology to be so expensive. Well, there it goes. Yep. Now, I've found out if you wet that, it does tend to stay on for days. There's no poltergeist here. So basically, yeah, I've filmed this about 3,000 times. I keep getting it wrong. So instead, I've decided to ask my husband if he can ask some questions so that I can make sure that you get all the information that you need.
So why is it so much cheaper?
So currently, as far as I'm aware, the 27-inch HD Wacom retails for probably about £1,500. This is the non-touch version. In my opinion, the touch version's a little bit pointless. This is the 19-inch one, and it comes in at about £400, I think, last time I looked at Amazon. So, to be quite honest, I was a bit apprehensive about it, and I thought it can't really be any good for that price. But actually, I was quite pleasantly surprised. The reason it's so much cheaper, I would say, I mean, it's not as big, it doesn't weigh as much, and it is quite plasticky, to be honest. It's got a kind of lip around the outside. You can see the difference between the remotes. I mean, this is made out of some kind of metal, and this is basically plastic with some suckers on it. But essentially, they do the exact same thing. They've both got the wheels. This has got little lights on it. It's got more limited customization on this. But I use the shortcuts on the keyboard anyway, so doesn't really make much difference.
And is it just as easy to use?
Yep, it works literally straight out the box. We had a couple of issues when it first came and the pen didn't work, but the guy sent me another one within like a day, Even if you know, it was coming from the Netherlands and you think, not sure about that, what's my guarantees? But these guys are amazing. Can't fault them. The pen also, just to say, it does have a battery in it, but the same with the iPad. You know, you've still got to charge that pen as well, but the Wacom, it runs on some kind of fairy dust. There's no battery in that. I don't really know how it works, but I think Wacom patented that. You also, with the Wacom one, you get some little nibs with it, but because I exclusively really use Illustrator, it's not really something I need as much. This one does have a more glassy screen to it. I found it reflected a lot more off the ceiling light. I could see myself in it, which I don't really like to do. Whereas this one, you can probably see the light that's coming down now, it's actually quite displaced. It's a little bit more matte, which I prefer. Again, you know, the new Macs and the iPad Pro is just as glassy as this. So,
does it come with everything that you need?
That was one thing I was actually really impressed with. I opened this box, and the box itself looked like it was some Chinese knockoff, if I'm honest. It's like tablet monitor, you know, no brand. So I was thinking, all right, okay. Opened it up. Literally, it came with 2 gloves, which you'd pay for with this. The Wacom, I had to pay for this stand. I'll try and put some photographs on the blog that I'm going to do. I had to pay, I think it was £250 for the stand on top of the price. This comes with a stand. Yeah, it is a bit flimsy, but it's got loads of different prongs on it, so you can have pretty much any angle. It came with all of the wires. There's only 2 wires here, but there's the Mac converter thing, the lightning converter. It came with that. I had to pay 25 quid for one to get this to work. It even came with this little case for the pen. It's got a little ruler on it. It's very, very clear that they've studied Wacom and whoever else is out there, and they've studied it well.
Okay, so basically, as a customer, you say, if I buy the YIYNOVA one, I can literally pull it out of the box and use it straight away. If I buy the Wacom, I might need to go out and get a few.
You're going to need a stand. You're going to need a stand, or you're going to need an arm. You can get an arm for this, as far as I'm aware, which will give you even more flexibility, because at the moment there's no tilt out of the box, but there isn't with this either. This comes with a really crappy stand, but the one that I've got is really nice. I still need to prop it up on books so I can get my keyboard kind of slightly underneath it. Otherwise, the keyboard doesn't even fit on the desk because it's so big. So I need to kind of slip the keyboard underneath it just a tad on an average size desk. Yeah, was that the question?
Yeah.
Okay.
So obviously you're using it on a Mac. Is it PC friendly?
I don't really use PCs, but like I said, there's going to be so many things I forgot I wanted to mention as part of this review. So, yeah, I've seen reviews on it. When I was waiting for it to come, I thought I'll have a quick reviews and see what I'm letting myself in for. And actually, they were really rave reviews from some really renowned illustrators. They mainly use bitmap programs as well. So even though I'm using Illustrator on a Mac, there was other people using Photoshop and bitmap programs on a PC quite happily by the looks of it. And I'm going to put the links to those in the blog as well, so you can be a bit more thorough, because I know not as many illustrators use Adobe Illustrator than they do Photoshop or whatever.
Okay, so we've got a price difference, a slight quality difference. Does any of that impact the end piece of work I'm going to produce?
No. I wouldn't say so.
So you're just going to get the exact same output from it?
It's basically just a second screen. So it all depends on the machine that you're using to power it. So with this one, I was using the laptop, which is probably more powerful than my actual Mac. But it is just a second screen, so you can just kind of plug it in. There's very, very few wires for both of them. This stand on the Wacom, again, I don't know why I'm trying to show you because it's underneath there. It's actually wired into the stand, which is really nice and clean and tidy, which is the way I like things. But this has got minimal wires and setup. You just plug and play. We did need to download the latest driver, if I remember rightly.
And with the size difference, does it make one more portable than the other?
No. This is a lot lighter. And even with the stand, it was, I suppose, slightly lighter, but it's not portable. It's staying on your desk.
Okay, so if you're
this one, you could. I think some people, to be fair, had these on they were using them on the lap, but I wouldn't say that's sustainable. I don't, sitting on the couch with this on your lap, you'd have a bad back in no time. The one thing I was slightly worried about is this one is locked to the desk because my studio isn't at home. So I lock everything to the desk of any value with a Kensington lock, whereas this one doesn't have the little hole for that, whereas most Macs come with it. My main Mac does. This came with a little hole for a Kensington lock, but this one didn't. So I'd be worried that if we got broke into, that would be easy to take.
Here's the real question that gives the answer to the review for everybody. So, at the point that you come to replace your Wacom, would you now replace it with a Wacom, or would you look at the YIYNOVA?
I guess it depends on your budget. I love this, and I really like this. It's the same product essentially. There's some slight differences, but in terms of getting the job done, I didn't really notice a difference. I know so many of the students that I see would absolutely love a Wacom. And that's what they talk about. Do I want a Wacom? Do I need to get the companion? But I would definitely recommend this. I'd recommend this to local universities on more of a budget, and I would definitely kit out the rest of the studio with these.
So, last question. Every review, you need to give it a score.
Right.
So, YIYNOVA, okay, marks out of 10, given everything that we've talked about, so value, like technical usage, quality, everything, marks out of 10.
Value, 10 out of 10. I think Wacom need to take notice. I think there's no excuse for these guys now to be charging what they are, I don't think. I mean, the new Dell one and the Microsoft one that's just come out, they are about $2,500 to $3,000 as well. But they are a computer, as far as I'm aware, not just a second screen. So these guys have dominated the market for far too long, and they've been charging for that as well. They need to take notice of these guys. There's no excuse. If it's the exact same technology, more or less now, what is their reasoning for charging so much difference? It's like 75% less for this. So in terms of value for money, 10 out of 10. And I'd give this probably a 6 out of 10. I'd give it more if I hadn't tried this. But yeah, 10 out of 10 for value. For functionality, I'd probably more like a 7 and 8 for this one. There was a few times when the pressure wasn't quite as sensitive as this. I was pulling up a little bit too soon, whereas this one would give me a thinner line. This one broke the line, but I replaced my lines that many times and redraw them. It really didn't make that much difference. So yeah, 7, 8 out of 10 maybe for that one.
And how would the Wacom compare on functionality? What would you score the Wacom?
Well, it's not without its quirks. I mean, there's been times I've been in Photoshop where it's just decided that it's only going to draw straight lines. It does a few odd things where it just stops responding, and I've just kind of had to tap the screen or come off the program using and go back in. So yeah, the functionality of this I'll probably give a similar score really, maybe an 8, 9. Yeah, it's not a perfect 10 by any stretch.
Okay, and then lastly, overall quality of the product?
Quality, this one I give a 10 out of 10. It is a beautiful, beautiful machine. Everything's flush, everything's flush. It's got a nice area around here to stick all of my post-its on. But yeah, it's just really nice, whereas this one, quality-wise, I'd probably give maybe 6, 7, 6. It's a glassy screen. Maybe they've cut back on the glass quality. This is very, very plasticky. It's pretty robust. You can't grumble at that.
Okay, so we've got 10 out of 10 for value, 7, 8 out of 10 for functionality.
Yeah.
And 6 out of 10 for quality. If you were to give it an overall rating out of 10, combining all of that?
Definitely give this a good 8. And to be fair, I'd probably do, the value of this would probably come down, so I'd probably give it a similar 8, 9 type of thing. So they both kind of have the pros and cons, but just don't be put off because it's an unknown brand, I'd say. I was probably a bit snobbier with it and was going, oh, I've never heard of them. No, I don't want that. But actually, they've proved me wrong.
Okay, last one. In one word and one word only, what would you describe it as? 2 words max.
I have no idea. Pleasantly surprised. Does that count?
Yeah.
Okay. Think that'll work. Are we rolling? So this is the basic setup that I use on a day-to-day basis. So, I forgot what I was going to say. Oh. Damn, it needs to start again because this is... Well, there is... I need you to not be here. I can't do it with you, I think it's because you're here.
So just recap again what you're going to say. One last time.
Oh, there's about 5 minutes of it. I can't recap 5 minutes.
Just tell me what you want to tell camera.
Basically what's on there, and then a little bit about the physical differences, and then I had a little bit about the iPad on there.
So what? Just explain to me the physical differences.
This one's plasticky, and this one's, well, you're paying for the craftsmanship.
Okay.
And this is all streamlined. Is that what you call it? And flush.
Okay.
Everything's flush. Whereas you've got a bit of a lip on here, and it does feel plasticky. You've got the difference between the remotes. It's the same thing more or less, but one's made out of, one feels plasticky because it is, and this one's made out of some kind of metal. You know, if you think about it, it's probably the difference between Sainsbury's and Aldi. They both do the exact same job, but this one's just more of a luxury, I'd say.
And not portable at all.
Well, you can't put it in your handbag, can you? Are you recording? That's cool. I like this one. No, I don't.
Right. And just look at the screen and say, but I also like dinosaurs.
But I also like dinosaurs. Should I just finish with that?
No one will get it.
So no, I'm just gonna let me know. So that concludes the review.
Feel free.